Welcome everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Grace Strega and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, October 16th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread. First two cards we are starting our day off with today are Hanged Man in its upright and our 5 of Swords in its reversal. So this is more a continuation on the conversation that we were having yesterday. So what were we talking about? What have we been talking about over the last few days? A lot of this energy right now in working through the energetic block, right? Working through the energetic blockage. And a lot of that, to a certain extent, it feels frustrating, right? It feels like nothing is energetically happening because it is the observation. And we're going to talk about this because everybody needs to be very intentional right now because we've got that Mars energy coming in with this full moon, okay? So we want to talk about that because I see even now like a lot of that intensification to a certain extent. A lot of this is helping to recognize and identify what feels like a blockage that you couldn't necessarily see before. And that in itself, I know that that can feel frustrating in the moment that you see it. But you have to understand that in the observation of an energetic blockage, that in itself is a clearing, right? Because you can't clear something that you don't see, right? And so that ability of doing so right now, like that recognition point, doing that work, facilitating and understanding what it is that one needs to do. Like that is, they're like saying to me, like that's like untangling knots right now. But it's really frustrating because then it's like it's finding the knot. That's like that's the first problem, right? You're like, oh, there it is. Now, it is having a different impact for masculine and feminine deep within divine union. This is a lot of, I want to say, working towards trying to untangle those knots. And so I see even now, that's what I mean about like so much of this energy deep within divine union, making sure that you prioritize rest, like as you do so, because when you're trying to I want you to think about this, sometimes, and I need to stress this, sometimes when you're trying to navigate an energetic hurdle, it's the moment that you walk away from it, like that you have a bit of a breakthrough point. You have a little bit of that light bulb, right? That pops up. Because sometimes when you fixate on something too much, it becomes too difficult. Like you get, you know what I mean? It becomes too hard to see. So we see even now, what is the gift that the counterparts are giving oneself deep within divine union? The clarity of energetic perspective, right? The gift that we give one another when we're facilitating it in positive ways is perspective. So that ability of providing perspective, this is a lot of that energy that is having via the energy of the counterpart, like that outside perspective that sometimes can feel energetically revelatory, but at the same time is the clarity in not overextending oneself, right? Like not pushing, like almost taking a different approach. Now, for masculine and feminine and those different approaches right now, that's what we're talking about in terms of breakthroughs. But sometimes you don't have a breakthrough until right before you're like, you know what I mean? Like a little bit of that type of energy, it's a little bit of that, the moment that you want to throw something down is then suddenly the minute that you pick it back up and go, wait, there it is. So that's a lot of this full moon energy and that's why we want to talk about not allowing that frustration to move you away from your energetic goal, but rather to build into that sense of getting out of one's own way. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this has been a lot of this work that we've been seeing, particularly over like the last month or so. There's so much of this work that we're seeing even now that, that point of understanding, if you will, that point of recognition, like so much of what we're seeing and identifying here, this is masculine and feminine that are really like, there's uncertainty as it relates to direction here, because there's a lot of that energy that is doing something in a way that they haven't before. And in both of those, and this is where it's having a different impact on masculine and feminine, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For masculine energy, so much of this work that we're seeing is potentially, and this is I want to say this is I can't even associate this right now to the masculine or feminine energetic journey, because it could really be on either side right now, because I'm basically seeing that one energy is working from a space of patience. One energy is working on that space of not allowing the shadows of the past to override the present experience. Particularly if this is energy that was always feeling that frustration, that just as things were beginning, someone would run away. That recognition point that it requires tenacity. It's not just enough to say that one desires a thing, but to be able to put in the energetic effort to be able to maintain something. Like that's the difference between falling in love versus showing the ability to stay in love. Like that ability to put that energetic effort in. So we see that for a lot of the masculine or feminine energy right now, that sense of rigor, going through that ugly process, but then recognizing that some of that ugly process, like that is what everybody energetically experiences. Like that is what is there for everyone. And understanding that that sense of perfection is not something that we just arrive to, but something that we create between ourselves. If this was the energy that recognized that, and is finding counterpart that is saying to them, be patient with me as I learn to do this. This is a lot of the energy that is feeling the release and the relief of karma that they were potentially carrying in situations in the past wherein someone was saying, wait for me to be ready. Wait for me to be ready. Wait for me to be ready. Instead of someone that says, be patient with me as I'm doing it. Be patient with me as I'm learning. Be patient with me as I actively show you that I am as invested in this process as you are. So a lot of that energy, like recognizing the nuance between the patience that is required waiting for someone versus the patience that's required building with someone. Now, for masculine, for the other counterpart energy here, I'm seeing that for some of this energy, this is a learning process, right? Having that ability, coming into a deeper sense of intimacy, understanding that intimacy in itself, by its very nature, is messy, because it creates that sense of not being able to hide those parts of the self that are so hard for us to show others, right? Like there's no, like that energetic intimacy, if you will. Like that's almost that moment of feeling vulnerable or exposed to a certain extent. So what is a lot of the energy doing right now as they're coming into divine union? They're releasing a lot of shame. They're releasing a lot of that energetic shame, because that sense of not feeling that one needs to hide something, coming into that space of being able to be vulnerable towards the counterpart. These are the energies that are working on the self in the process. And this is why we see that that's a lot of that energy that may be saying to someone, please be patient with me as I learn to be vulnerable like this, right? Because that's the energy that says it's really hard. And that's the energy that means that from a place of authenticity. Because if that's someone who's like, I usually keep this in, you're asking me to take the stuff inside and put it out. Like that's the energy. It's like, I'm not used to this. So that is that experience that, is one of building trust. So even there, like this is not only a moment of going forward, but there's a lot of looking backwards in the process. So it's very easy to start feeling disoriented in moments like this because there's a lot of energy that's having these breakthroughs in the present, and it's changing their perception on the past in profound ways. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, this is the topic of conversation. This is the topic of conversation. And I see that even now, there's a little bit of this navigation that's occurring right now, because there is even here, I want to say, there's a lot of energy that is working through the state or space of healthy, energetic closure is the best way I can describe that, which is that sense or that space of allowing for that place of being able to come into a context of learning from the lessons of the past, but not wanting to energetically return towards them. And so I see even now, like, some of that energy encountering one another, like in that energetic context. And almost like, I want to say, like, coming into that space of saying to one another, like, is that something that you want to energetically return to? Or is that an energetic closure point? And I see even now, like, a lot of that energy that is arriving in that point where they're having those conversations in separation, like articulating to someone the difference between that sense or that space of waiting for energetic change versus that sense of moving forward. Now, I need to stress this because this is important. You know, the thing that we're seeing here is a lot of that energy in separation, you know, that's building towards that pathwork of healing. This is not energy that just when something gets difficult, they energetically depart. This isn't the energy that we're seeing that as soon as something gets a little like hard, like difficult, the energy moves in the other direction. There's a lot of this articulation for the energy and healing about that sense or that space of having gone through like all of the steps of healing or trying to fix something or trying to show something that felt like that sense of needing to be remedied. And so that ability of saying to someone, that point of energetic closure and that recognition of saying, no, I'm in separation, not because I'm trying to facilitate some kind of change in someone, but identifying and saying, I did all of that work with them. And now I'm in that point of closure. There's a lot of this energy that I'm seeing even now is in that point of healing, specifically and particularly because this is a lot of the energy that says it shouldn't require one to move away from someone in order to facilitate an energetic change. Because what that effectively articulates is something that is so volatile that the only way that change is occurring is if there's some kind of fundamental rockiness, right? This is almost the energy that says if this is what it would take to bring forward an energetic change, then that is not a breakthrough. That's almost the energy saying that feels part and parcel to the fact that there's still that volatility there, right? So we see even now, like, a lot of that energy, there's a lot of catharsis that's happening right now for the energy in separation, because it is the observation of the way an energetic connection moves as opposed to the volatility that it creates within. Now, center card in our spread for today is, we see here our Queen of Cups in its reversal. Now, this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine energy right now, in separation, I gotta stress this, and I'm gonna tell this right now. You're not going bananas. You got a full moon coming. It's a full moon in Mars energy. So there's a lot of this emotional overwhelm that's happening right now, right? There's a lot of it. It's like, it's, like, again, we start hitting these full moons and everything starts, like, expanding to a certain extent. You know, but a lot of this, and and this is what I see even now, like a lot of that amplification for feminine, in separation, and we're going to talk about this because it's occurring across all of the frequencies. For the feminine energy in separation, I want to say there's some kind of feeling of the audacity of someone feeling energetically patient, right? I just keep seeing that there's a lot of the feminine energy in separation right now that's almost saying the patience that, and this has to do with that conversation in relationality to patience that we've been talking about. This is the feminine energy that keeps saying my patience is a gift that I give to someone that shows that they're asking to be patient with me, not for them. Recognizing the difference between being patient with someone, actively in the process of learning as you go, and the patience that we give one another as we're working towards that unified goal, versus the energy of the feminine saying someone was asking me to be patient for them to decide that they wanted that. Like, that's the feminine energy saying, make no mistake, I can identify the difference between someone I am being patient with, like working with, versus someone saying, just stay here and wait for me, right? Because even here, this is the energy of the feminine that says, and I see even now, like, that's the feminine saying, this is the feminine that says, I can see the feminine almost saying to masculine in separation, I don't change on a dime, but the audacity, because that's the energy of the feminine saying, when you're in that context of building with someone, this is the feminine says, my arms extend, right? This is the feminine saying in separation, when I'm building with someone, the expanse to which I open up that patience is endless, right? But this is the feminine that then closes the wings and says, but if that's a modality of someone saying, wait, to be able to energetically receive that sense of saying, I'm not sure if I'm ready yet to do that. This is the feminine that says one is wider than the ocean and the other you couldn't find it on the head of a pin. Like, that's the feminine going, you couldn't find it on a head of the pin, right? So we see even now that for a lot of that energy, this is a lot, I want to say a lot of closure that's coming through right now. Now, and that's a feminine saying, and even in that modality, that's a feminine saying, that is the gift I give someone, because that is the furthest extent of my compassion, is helping them understand that valuation point is the energetic standard, right? The standard isn't coming to the arrival of that. The standard is doing the energetic work. Now, for masculine energy, the same work that we're seeing right now in separation, because for so much of this energy of the masculine in separation, this has to do, and I keep seeing the vision of calm water. Like, for a lot of the masculine energy, I see a lot of the masculine energy saying to feminine in separation, I can take this ship anywhere so long as I know that the water is calm. So long as I know that the water is calm. So, and that's the masculine energy. And I need to stress this. I can see this saying to the feminine, this isn't that ability. And this isn't the feminine. This is the masculine saying that the gift that the feminine brings forth to masculine, bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. That if the feminine's gift of emotionality is so expansive, it's so incredible. But the way that the feminine is able to make sure that that feels like a gift is by navigating it, by building into that state of energetic balance. So even while that volatility is there, via the articulation of it, instead of the reactiveness to it, this is the energetic equivalent of the security that these energies provide one another. So we see even now, what is the conversation happening right now? In separation, conversations on constancy, conversations that the gift of love that we give each other is the constancy that we create for one another. But that constancy that we see is not one that can be misinterpreted. It's one that we create for one another. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, understanding that, doing that work right now, navigating that territory, it feels energetically messy. This is a lot of energy going, I didn't expect it to feel like this. It looked a lot cleaner in the picture. Like this is the energy coming into divine union that feels that sense of looking at something and says, the facade of something may look perfect, but that's because you don't see what's like happening like under the water. You don't see the difficulty. You don't see the hurdles. You don't see all of the work that it takes to make something look so energetically effortless. So we see even now, like this is a lot of that emotionality that's getting kicked up right now in the process of building into that work. And it's having a different impact on masculine and feminine. For feminine, it's emotionally like a lot of that same feeling that the conversation that's happening for the feminine in separation, rising up into the energy of the feminine that's coming into divine union, which is the difference between actively seeing masculine energy, saying, be patient with me, as opposed to masculine energy in the past that may have said, just wait for me, right? For masculine, that is the feeling the feminine doing that work of building the energetic constancy that doesn't mean that the feminine doesn't feel anything, but a feminine energy that creates the safety net of security in their own ability to express the emotional need as opposed to reacting to it. So a lot of that energy right now, having a point of that breakthrough, and it's emotional. Do you see how there's emotionality there? Because this is energy that's learning as we go. And as you go, the more you learn, the more that you may potentially feel sorrow in what you could not see prior to that point, or what you may have potentially not recognized within the self. So what is this energy doing? They're coming into that space of grace and compassion for one another. The forgiveness we give each other as we continue to stumble forward and we catch each other before we fall, because that is the gift that we see that the energy deep within divine union is providing to one another. Because that sense or that space of saying, I'm not getting it right, and the energy saying, as long as you're moving forward, you're doing just fine. You're doing just perfect. It's going to look, it doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter how it feels, so long as you're moving in the right direction. Sometimes that's an inch, sometimes that's a mile. But as long as that intentionality is there, this is a lot of energy that is forgiving themselves in the process. Now, continuing to get clarification, second two cards in our 5-card spread, we have here our 8 of Cups in its reversal, in combination with our 3 of Swords in its upright. So a lot of this energy right now, deep within divine union, coming into that space, being very hyper fastidious, feeling that sense of, having to, trying to do everything that one can, but then feeling the energetic sorrow in the sense that no matter where you turn, there is more to be done. I'm going to say it again. Welcome to that is the energetic act of compassion. That sense or that space of having that mindfulness of looking all around you and always feeling that wound inside and saying, I'm not doing enough. That's the crack where the light gets in. That's that space that we create for ourselves because we don't look around and say, that's not my business. I'm not going to worry about it. It's that sense of saying, there's more I could be doing. There's more I could be doing. So we see even now that for so much of that work, being able to recognize that this is energy that is trying to hold themselves in that space of supporting one another and giving each other energetic compassion as they do so. Because often in that journey, one feels like you're never doing correctly because there's always more to be done. So remember that feeling is also hold your space, hold yourself in a space of compassion. Don't overextend yourself in that modality. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because that recognition point of being able to function forward and being tireless in that, but also being energetically mindful of the self, is very important in that process. Now, for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, like letting go of a ton of regret, letting go of a ton of doubts on the self. This is a lot of energy that's been looking back on the past and saying, like, looking at those energetic failure points. Moving towards perfection is always just failing a little bit better every single time. So we see even now, what are these energies doing right now? And they're articulating to one another as they move into divine union. They're saying, our job isn't to be energetically perfect. Our job is to be mindful of what we can change. Our job is to be mindful of what we are working to correct. So long as we're both on task in relationality to where we are going, what that destination is, that process of arriving is energetically endless, because we'll never necessarily get there, but we'll always strive to get a little bit closer, right? And that is the paradoxical nature, because there's always more to move forward towards. Now, for masculine and feminine energy in separation, so much of this energy in separation right now, this is that feeling of frustration. This is that feeling of, and I see even now, like, a lot of the energy in separation is contending with the fact that even in separation, they feel like they've arrived at a point of energetic closure. Because I see that even in the communication to someone of that process, saying to someone, that departure point is such that if this is, I told you, if this is the energy that like went through that checklist, trying to heal, trying to energetically fix something, this is not the type of energy that leaves in order to enact a change. Because to say to someone, I'm going to leave to try to enact a change in you, is cruelty, right? So this is the energy that says that their departure point is coming into that space where they say, I did not move away from someone for the sake of bringing forth a change in them. I stayed with someone trying to fix it in every way I could until finally it felt like it was causing more harm to energetically be somewhere. It wasn't in someone's best interest. So that's a lot of that energy that says, I moved away from something and I knew it was energetically best. And that's the energy that says, even if something comes back, it doesn't feel like someone coming, like this is the energy that says, I can never tell if that's the energy that is coming from a point of authenticity and sincerity, or if that's the energy that is just is still in the same modality and trying to change something to bring something back to where it was. So you see even now, like a lot of that energy saying, I don't, like, that's the point that says, like, this is a lot of the energy in separation saying, I'm in a point of closure, because they're saying, I've let go of something, in the recognition of saying that that point of letting go should not feel like a part of that process, right? That's the energy saying that's not a part of that process, because that's someone saying you can expect this to occur over and over again, that rift and that coming together. And that's the energy saying, I don't want to build a relationship that builds upon rifts and then reunions. There's energy that can have relationships of that nature. And this is the energy saying, I'm looking for balance. I'm looking for balance. I'm looking for an energetic constancy that doesn't require the energy of the unions that create the rift and the reunification. Continuing to get clarification between our hanged man in its upright in combination with our 5 of swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our 6 of Pentacles. And so there's a lot of this energy right now in separation. I just see a lot of the energy right now in separation kind of saying to a certain extent, I'm not available for that. I just see a lot of the energy saying, I'm not available for that. I recognize it's there. I recognize it's for some people. It's not for me. I just see a lot of the energy going, and this is the energy going, no, like no disrespect to anybody who wants that. Like, you see this? Like, there's a lot of that energy that says no disrespect energetically to anyone that desires it. But this is the energy going, it's not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not available for it. I'm not interested in it, right? This is the energy. It's going, it's, you know, everybody's got their taste. This is a lot of the energy going, no hard feelings. It's just not for me. So even here, we see that a lot of that energy basically saying, like, that's something that they recognize, that they're saying, I'm not looking for someone that, like, I'm not looking for energetic connections that require all of that, like, emotional, like, movement within it, because it doesn't allow for an expansiveness outside of the partnership itself. Like, it's almost, the energy almost says, it feels like an over concentration on the prioritization of what must be expended in order to maintain. This is the energy that says, it feels like the use of that energy could be better expended elsewhere. While for masculine, and this is a lot of that energy, like coming into that point of like appreciation for one another as they are articulating through this. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, that is deep within divine union. A lot of this energy, deep within divine union, coming into divine union, this is the energy that is building into that sense of recognizing what looks energetically ideal on the outside, that requires that rigor within, right? This is the energy that's just doing that work, and they're getting their hands dirty, and it's messy and it's uncomfortable, you know. And someone being like, how's I can see a lot of energy coming into divine union going, how's the relationship going? And someone like smiling and going, it's awful. Like a lot of the energy going, it's awful, but like with a smile on their face, right? Because that sense of like saying, it's bringing out, it's making me bring out parts of the self that I didn't even expect. I didn't even recognize. I didn't even know it was going to be there. Right? That's a lot of that energy saying, I didn't know what it would feel like. I didn't think it would feel like this. But this is a lot of the energy that recognizes that sometimes seeing something from afar versus being within it can have very different experiences. Now, for masculine and feminine deep within divine union, this is a lot of that, I want to say, curatorial care that you're giving to one another at this time. Because for a lot of the energy in that space doing that work, that desire of not overextending oneself, right? Like that sense or that support of saying, I know that work is tireless. I know that the work that you're doing is tireless, but your own ability of finding balance is key. This is a lot of that energy. I almost see like a lot of that like gentle care for one another as you do so, because that care is almost articulating and saying to one another, your intrinsic value is not in what you do, it is in who you energetically are, right? But this is a lot of that energy that's so deeply integrated in that journey that it's hard to separate one from the other. Continuing to get clarification between our Five of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Queen of Cups in its reversal. Can I have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now. Look at these two. Right? I'm going to say it again. There is a Mars, like there's a full moon coming in Mars. It's intense. There's a lot. It's a lot of release. It's a lot of release. Healthy, I'm going to say it right now. Healthy, energetic release places are important right now. Like finding healthy ways to channel through, because I'm going to say it even now. Some of this is frustration. Well, I mean, you know, we have to talk about the fact that like a lot of that Aries energy, you know, there's oomph there. You know what I mean? And so, you know, what do you do when you've got a little bit of that, when you've got a little bit of that energetic aggression? You channel it in positive directions. You channel it in positive directions. So we see even now that any of that energetic frustration that is occurring right now, between the counterparts. This is what the counterparts are saying to one another. Like put it somewhere where it'll be helpful. Put it somewhere where it'll be like, don't hold it in. It's literally, I see the energy within Divine Union saying, you don't need to hold it in. Find a place to put it, like creatively. Find a place to put it emotionally. Find a place to put it that feels that it is not going to, like, that allows for that point of easement to a certain extent. Because I see even now, like, a lot of that energy that's getting very hard on themselves in the process, and saying, don't over internalize external situations. Remember, the best that you're doing is enough. And that sense, or that space of always wanting to do better and always feeling frustrated, that's part and parcel with the energetic act of compassion. Now, for masculine and feminine coming into Divine Union, this is a lot of this energy that is feeling like, and I want to stress this, they feel like they're hitting stumbling points right now in partnership. But this is the energy that says to one another, it doesn't matter if these are not stumbling points, so long as we're learning through them. If there's a modality here of discovery, if there's that sense or that space of like doing that energetic unpacking, this is the energy that looks towards one another and says, there's no one I'd rather be doing this with than you. I'm ready to do that energetic work to a certain extent. Now, for masculine and feminine in separation right now, I just see that a lot of this energy in separation right now, going through that articulation of the process of frustration, looking towards new energy. Look at these two. Look at these two in separation. Look at these two in separation right now. These are the energies that are like, yeah, I don't want to be here. Like, this is the energy going, I'm frustrated, because both of these energies right now, in their frustration, they're recognizing themselves, right? Because this isn't the energy that's just like, yeah, this is great, I just love being in separation. Like, this is the life. This is a lot of the energy in separation that says, I'm looking for someone that desires the same things that I do. I'm looking for someone that recognizes that that point of desiring something requires that you put emotional effort into it. And so we see even now, like, there's a lot of that energy that's feeling frustration and saying, it feels to me like a lot of that energy in separation saying, it feels like there may be energy, that this is the energy that's sharing the stories of saying someone was not as emotionally invested in doing the work energetically required to be able to maintain a connection, right? And this is the energy that doesn't say, this is the energy that doesn't articulate to one another and says, I departed as soon as something got difficult. This is the energy that feels the frustration and saying, and feeling validated and saying, I did everything I could until there was nothing else I could do, right? And this is the energy that finds themselves in that modality. And suddenly that point of recognition, that point of appreciation, that closure point allows for, next card in our spread, between our Queen of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Cups in its reversal. This is all that pre-full moon energy right here. So like all of it. King of Cups in its reversal. So we got the pairs here. We got the pairs here. Look at these two in separation. Right? We've got so much of this energy here being like, this is the pits. Like, I see a bunch of the energy being like, this is the pits. I don't want to be here. This is dumb. Because I see even now, but this is the energy saying, I'm not going into something that's not energetically balanced. Like, this is a lot of that energy I'm seeing even now. This is the energy that's saying that even in that point of separation, this is the energy saying, better to be in energetic separation than having to be in an energetic connection that feels like it is unbalanced, right? because this is the energy that is also feeling like they're healing themselves, because I see the energy, like this is energy in separation going, maybe I could have taken a little bit more weight. Maybe I could have made it a little bit energetically easier. Like I see a lot of this energy going, maybe, and this is the energy finding each other and being like, do you hear yourself right now? Like this is a lot of the energy saying to one another in that experience, you know, your own ability to look at something and trying to come into that space of asking oneself if there was something that you could do. This is the energy that recognizes themselves and says, like tap on the shoulder, like this is the gift we give each other. Hey, you know that being in a partnership shouldn't require you to be perfect, right? This is the energy that is saying to one another, you know, it does recognize, you know, that sense of like, again, and this is the energy that's saying that to one another in different ways, because this is the feminine saying to the masculine, you know, that ability of articulating that and saying, it doesn't require you to be perfect. That feels like a weight that's lifted off the back of a masculine in separation, particularly if that's a masculine that was going through that journey of feeling like nothing they could do is ever energetically enough. The gift that the masculine is giving the feminine is saying, I recognize that perfection is an energetic illusion. Why ruin, like we have to strive to what we can create between ourselves, right? So that sense or that space, you see even now, like these are energies that are making new energetic connections in separation. And they're finding each other, and they're saying, you know, this was not a good moment for you to find me, because I feel like there's a lot of this like venting that's happening. But even in that space of venting, there's release and relief, because this is the energy that looks towards one another and says, you genuinely care. You genuinely care. And when something isn't going right, you don't push it out outside the self. You immediately internalize it and try to figure out what you can do to resolve or solve it, right? So even now, but this is also the energy that's in a space of closure and separation because of what we spoke about, clarification between our 8 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our 3 of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, 7 of Cups in its reversal. And this is why so much of that energy in separation is saying to themselves, there's no going back. Because if this is energy that looks towards something and separates from someone, and only in the act of separation does someone then arrive and say, here it is, here's that thing you were asking me for this whole time. This is the energy going, not like that, not like that, because that doesn't feel like a gift. That feels like a concession. That doesn't feel like something that we're reaching out for. You just took the thing, that should feel like a blessing, and you made it feel like a relinquishing, right? And I see even here that for so much of that energy, you know, that frustration point, like that's the energy that kind of goes through that process and says, you know, there's no energetically going back, because I see a lot of the energy going, if this is what it took, if this is what it would take for something to arrive in the way that it should have shown up in the time that, like, you know, the time, like when it first showed, like when it was, like that's how, like, you know, like that's a lot of that energy that feels that frustration point, because that's the energy that feels like they went through a lot of that path work. And the energy says, I'm glad I was able to serve as an energetic lesson. Like, you know, I can see all of the energy being like, you know, thank you for that. I feel touched. You know, like that's the energy going, I feel touched. I feel honored. Now for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is the energy working through that. And I have to stress this though, for the energy in separation, that point of looking towards someone and saying, you get it. You understand. Like a lot of that energy, making energetic connections now and feeling that vitality of someone that is connecting with you. This is the energetic start of the new energetic connections that are happening, because it's looking at someone saying, you get it, you understand. Now, and that sense of seeing, that clarity is why I see a lot of new potential energetic connections that are forming right now. Now, masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union. This is a lot of that energy that said, I never imagined it would feel like this, right? This is a lot of that energy coming into divine union going, I never imagined it would feel like this, because this is a lot of that energy that's healing from the facade of what something should be versus actually getting into like the depths of intimacy, right? Intimacy is messy. Like intimacy is hard, right? There's a lot of vulnerability there, but that sense or that space of supporting one another as they go, this is a lot of the energy that says to each other, this is hard for both of us, but there's nowhere else I'd rather be, right? And that is how the energy is moving closer towards one another as they move to within deeper within divine union. And this is what a lot of the energy right now is saying to themselves. Like this is the energy saying that within divine union. And this is a lot of the energy that is reaffirming their own energetic commitments to one another in the process of being within the divine union and articulating and saying, you are intrinsically valuable. Your priority isn't in your energetic accomplishments. Your priority isn't in, like your intrinsic value is within, it's not without. And this is why the energy is saying to one another as they continue forward, make sure that you're giving yourself that space of energetic rest, because you, like I see the energy saying to one another, you are my energetic treasure. Like that's the energy saying you are my, because that is the energy that says to one another and to those, like you are you hold that value point because of the care that we feel, because of the love. That is that space of like, when we come into that space of compassion, those are those modalities that we express upon and expand upon, wherein we give each other that sense of saying, you are enough just in being you. It's not what you put forth, it's who you are from within. And so a lot of that energy, feeling that supportive energy within, it empowers. So it's like it empowers and it makes one want to arrive even greater. So we see even now like a lot of that sense of security and stability. Like I just keep seeing it's inexhaustible, but it also needs to be energetically nurtured. Now, continuing to get clarification between our Six of Cups in its Six of Pentacles in its reversal, in combination with our King of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our High Priestess in the reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union right now. A lot of this work that we are seeing, like this is a lot of that energy deep within divine union that is, coming into that, like, and I gotta say it again, my friends, there's also a bit of like, there's another lunar eclipse happening on top of this particular cycle. So like we've already, like this particular full moon is, I want to say like somewhat, it's emotional and it feels like somewhat energetically confusing. Because I see even now like a lot of that over emotionality is articulated upon, like, and there's like, what does one do with that emotional expansion point? Now, for masculine and feminine, deep within divine union, a lot of this is being articulated to a certain extent in relationality to having that confidence in the self. Because I see even now, like a lot of that is built upon and predicated, that sense or that sensation of not knowing what comes next. Okay? Now, the difficulty, and I want to stress this though, that sense or that space of not knowing what comes next, a lot of this energy here is working through this space of intentionality. And when we're going to articulate this, when we're moving from intentionality, we surrender the energetic outcome. We just move forward and we allow our heart to guide us. So we see even now that for a lot of that, like a lot of that work that's happening here, this is that point of reassurance and saying to one another, you're doing just fine. I am here to reassure you. I am here to give you energetic comfort. Because if you're feeling that, everybody is feeling that to a certain degree. The thing that you feel isolates you, unifies you. And so we see even now that for a lot of that energy deep within divine union, giving each other energetic reassurance, acting as that clear mirror for one another, even when you're unsure about what that will predicate or where you're effectively going or how you're going to energetically do something. This is the environment of a breakthrough. So that's why I keep saying, make sure that you're channeling it in a positive direction, right? Because the only difference between a breakdown and a breakthrough is how you energetically carry it. So make sure that you're providing that sense of compassion within it, right? Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, a lot of this energy right now working through, like this is a lot, like I see it even now. And I got to stress this, if you're in the process right now, like, I want everybody to be easy on yourselves the next couple of days. Don't force overly emotional conversations, because I'm seeing even now, like, the hurdle or the difficulty that I'm recognizing here, okay? We want to be a little bit conscientious when we see both of these cards in that emotionality point, because the ability to articulate through an influx of emotions, that can either build the bridge or it can create a lot of division. So make sure that you're not coming into a point of comparison in relationality to what you're feeling versus what another's feeling. Make sure that you're navigating that the way that one would hope it would be held, which is from a state of compassion. Because I see even now, like, some of this work, it's coming into divine union, it's triggering, it's emotional. Like, there's a sensitivity here. And we've got the addition of the full moon with a little bit of that aggressive, like, Mars energy that is propelling energy forward. Now's not a time, I'm going to say it again, like, now's a time to speak with stability and intention. Create the security that you're seeking in others within the self and provide that as a gift to one another. Because even through that, it's going to navigate that influx of effectively not navigating how you feel, but instead answering that emotional imperative by becoming what you need for those around you. Now, for masculine and feminine energy in separation, this is the energy in separation that articulates that they do that all the time. This is the energy that articulates that this is what they do all the time. This is why we see a lot of new energetic connections that are coming forward right now. Because I see even now, like, some of that energy that is articulating and saying, I don't necessarily just, I feel the things I feel, but I don't allow them to control me. I move with intentionality. So this is a lot of that energy that says, I feel a tremendous degree. But that sense or that space of being able to articulate through it instead of reacting to it, there's a lot of energetic discovery that's happening right now, particularly in the realm of new energetic connections. And that sense or that space, and I almost see someone saying, oh, I thought that was just me. I thought that was just me. I thought I was the only one. Like, there's a lot of that energy here that's kind of coming through right now in that point of separation. And almost like, I want to say, like, a little bit of that double take and being like, oh, you've gone through that as well, because this is a lot of that energy coming towards one another, having navigated that territory. Now, continuing to get clarification between our Knight of Cups in combination with our King of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Temperance card. I'm going to say this with all of the grace in my heart. Please please. I know everybody's feeling extremely impatient right now. Give each other the gift, and I need to point this out. A lot of this impatience is, and I need to say this because Aries energy is often articulated and based upon new beginnings, right? So we see even now, like the Aries energy is like the baby of the astrology. So like, a lot of this energy here, I keep seeing a lot of this energy like in separation, making new energetic connections and being like, no, I'm not. No, I just swore that. I can see energy going, I just said I'm not going to, like, I see a lot of this energy going, I just said I'm done. I just said I'm done. Like a lot of this energy in separation. Going through that process of basically saying to like, being like, what, it's a bit of this energy that I'm seeing even now, that I told you, like, we've got a little bit of pleasant surprise energy that's coming through here. And so for so much of this, I can just see that, like, I keep seeing a lot of energy saying now is not the ideal time. But, I just keep seeing like someone saying like, you're just so good to talk to. I hope I'm not taking up too much of your time. Like, I just see a lot of these new energetic connections that are coming forth right now. And because this is what's allowing for some closure right now, because that sense or that space of someone identifying and recognizing what it is that you navigated, it's a relief and a release, because I see even now, like, that is a lot of the energy saying, okay, good. Like we were moving in the same direction. You experienced that too. What was it like for you? Like a lot of that energy coming into that space, it feels restorative, right? But it also feels frustrating, because that's the energy that goes, like it's a little bit of that. Now for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, I feel like there's a lot of energy here that is, and this is why I want to say it again. This type of energy here coming into divine union, this is either breakthrough or breakdown energy. So being able to be supportive towards one another in a moment of emotional volatility, or feeling a large expanse of emotions, and finding ways to build bridges through them, as opposed to utilizing that as a point of projection onto the other. Just be very compassionate right now, because I see even now like a lot of this like pre-full moon energy. Everyone's on a hair trigger. And again, our own ability of like navigating through that is very important. Continuing for the energy deep within divine union. This is also like, it's kind of the same message. Navigating energetic frustrations, or navigating energetic hurdles that just feel frustrating to a certain degree. Be patient. Like, I want you to kind of say, like, I want you to recognize that there's something about that patience right now that they're saying like it's paying off. Like your own ability of being energetically patient. And I can even tell that me saying that is like annoying someone, because like, when you're not feeling patient, someone saying being patient, like that in itself is triggering. But that sense of, I want to say it's coming into a place of, I want to say, just, I want to put it this way. You ever get like so frustrated and you're like, whatever, like, you know what I mean? Like that sense of just kind of like coming into that space of being like, what are you going to do? Like it's that moment that you just come into that space of like, I want to say, divine acceptance of it is like, instead of reacting to it, you just kind of navigate through it, and it's like it's building upon patience and perseverance right now. Now, continuing to get And this is the energy that like supports one another in that journey, because that's the energy saying, no, that sounds like it was very frustrating. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. Will everyone please make sure to be taking care of themselves today? I want everyone drinking their water. I want everybody resting as necessary, because I just see there's like a lot. There is a lot of reverse cup energy here today. So I'm going to say this even now. If one has unhealthy attachments to unhealthy coping mechanisms, please stay wary of them today. Okay? Just be mindful of that, because I see even now there's like a lot of that emotional overwhelm here. So I want you to just be mindful of making sure that you're prioritizing taking care of oneself in the process. And I see that even now for a lot of the energy deep within divine union, that articulation of doing so, this is the energy saying that the counterparts are saying like prioritize your rest right now. Now, because this is the energy that feels very like restless, like it feels restless, which is why you should be prioritizing rest right now. Now, for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, I just see that so much of this, so much of this right now, this is, and I need to be like, this is either a breakthrough or a breakdown. Like this is that type of energy here, because I see even now, like this is coming into, a deeper investiture in emotional intimacy by means of the expression of the emotions that one is carrying within. Or this could be energy that is feeling overwhelmed by that emotionality, and that's why I keep saying, make sure that you're articulating through it right now, not reacting to it. While for the energy in separation, I just see that a lot of this energy in separation is coming into a space or place of acceptance in relationality to where you energetically left something, and again, like a bit of like a lot of this validation to a certain extent, like a lot of this, like I want to say there's a lot of closure that is happening right now for energy and separation, because for a lot of that energy and separation, that those new connections, the ability to articulate upon something here, the ability to forge a restorative connection is such that this is the energy that is looking not as to like the emotionality of something, but whether that new approach is allowing for breakthrough, right? So we see even now, like there's a lot of that, I want to say like a lot of that emotional nurturing that's happening in separation, because like a lot of that like release process is like coming to terms with like the circumstances or situations and identifying the difference between what feels like it's restorative versus what feels like it's energetically emotional, and I see even now like a lot of this, like this is saying to me like this is going to be a very purifying full moon to a certain extent, because it's like allowing for a lot of that to be freed up. Continuing to get clarification here between our High Priestess in its reversal in combination with our Temperance card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? With this Four of Swords in its upright, there's a lot of energy in separation that's making peace with circumstances or situations. And sometimes when we're making peace with something, it's all of the emotionality that we feel, like that emotional outpouring, we hold that back in a sense of compassion for ourselves. And I see even now that there's an ability here in holding space for one another and navigating that territory that's almost allowing for that vibration of like appreciating. They're saying what one can do within the self versus what one can receive from an energetic counterpart. And so I keep seeing the fact that, like, there's like, I get a lot of this energy in separation that are making new energetic connections from a point of saying, like, I've just decided that I'm probably going to be in this space forever. Like, there's a lot of this energy in separation right now that are saying, I just assume it's like, I feel this stillness, I'm just always going to be here. Because what's really happening is a lot of the energy in that modality right now, they're making peace with themselves and they're finding peace with themselves, right? And that space of, like we talked about, and this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For feminine, what happens when feminine makes peace with circumstances or situations? Feminine goes through that process of self-review, right? Feminine goes through that process of self-review and says, is there anything that I would have energetically done differently? And I see a lot of the feminine energy going, and this is why I see even now a lot of the feminine articulating on that, being like, I don't see anything I would have energetically done differently, right? And so a lot of that energy of the feminine in separation, like building into that space of making energetic peace with the difference between what they feel like they could change versus what they feel like they have to accept, right? And for a lot of the masculine energy in separation, I see even now that for a lot of the masculine energy in separation, potentially looking towards feminine in separation and saying, you're like, I want to say this from like a point of appreciation, because what happens when we navigate a point of making an energetic connection with someone and someone just saying, like, coming into that space of saying, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like that ability, like masculine almost looks towards the feminine in separation that does that with reverie, right? Because I see that for masculine in separation, this feels more emotional. This feels more like the masculine that's like more in that state of trying to facilitate and recognize, that point of navigating, like both of these energies holding each other and basically saying, it sounds to me like you are navigating difficult circumstances and you're being too hard on yourself in the process, right? Like, and even here, like, it's like the gift, what is the gift that the energy in separation is receiving from one another? Peace. Now, for masculine, but they found that peace within, which is why they're able to give it to one another without. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, this is why I see that this is more triggering right now. Because specifically and particularly, and I need to stress this right now, there's a really strong message that's coming through in recognizing the difference between what one emotionally needs and what another needs from you. Because sometimes our emotionality can block us from the perception of what another needs. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy, navigating the emotional, like navigating the emotionality, but then still being energetically mindful of those around you in the process. Like I see even now, this is that energetic restorative process, because I see that this is not necessarily energy that's just reacting to how they're feeling, but they're articulating through it, and it's in the moment that we're able to articulate through an emotion, we're able to see through it, right? And when I say see through it, I mean we can see with clarity through our emotions both how we're feeling and the separation process towards what another needs. So I see even now, like, a lot of this energy is learning on how to forge connections, even feeling an emotional overwhelm. It's hard work. And if it's hard, I want you to come into a space of appreciating and congratulating yourself on that journey, because even trying to do that is magnificent. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into deep within divine union right now, this is that overflow of appreciation that one gives to one another in the process, right? Because I see even now, like I told you, there's a little bit of this work, this energy that is working tirelessly, and the other energy is saying to them, like, rest. And this is the energy saying, I know you want me to rest. That's why I'm going to give forward more, because this is the appreciation. Like, this is the battery. This is the energy that comes towards, which is like when we have the love that cares for us, it makes us flourish. When we have the love that says, you are perfect as you are, it makes us feel inspired to be even more. So we see even now, like, a lot of that occurring right now, deep within divine union. Continuing to get clarification between our Temperance card in its reversal in combination with our Ace of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Moon card in its reversal. So a lot of clarity that we're seeing here. This feels like it feels like a lot of clarity. But I think even now, like, a lot of that like they're saying that this full moon is bringing a lot of clarity, a lot of emotional clarity. So one's own ability to, and this is why they're saying it's really important to be able to, navigate that emotionality from a place of energetic balance. Thank you for that gift. Because one's own ability of doing so, the calmness that we create within ourselves is the gift that we give to those around us. And so make sure that you're navigating forward in that way, because even in doing so, for the energy deep within divine union, this is that conversation that we were having even more so about building and working towards consistency. And when we build and we work towards consistency, that prioritization point, like, it allows for that adaptability, right? And so I see even now, like, a lot of that energy working effortlessly in that way, and recognizing one another in that context, and building into that space of taking care of one another in the process. Like, that's what the energy deep within divine union's doing. The energy coming into divine union is learning how to navigate that process. And it's messy, and it's difficult, and it's navigating the emotional overwhelm. But instead of looking towards a counterpart and saying, like, just speaking from a place of emotional need, going through that pathwork of introspection, doing that self-assessment first, and then effectively recognizing how someone can facilitate one's own sense of balance, right? This is a lot of energy that is building into, they're saying, very mindful, energetic connections. And it's not without feeling, but it's being able to articulate through the emotional feeling in a way that makes it easier to facilitate the ability for the partner to give you what can help, what can be restorative, right? Because sometimes the emotions are demanding. Like, the emotions always ask a question, right? The head has the answer. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy doing that, like, that process in itself is where the energy is getting their hands dirty. Now for masculine, and it's all in the space of asking. Like, a lot of it is like, all I do is ask. Like, all you do is ask. Oh, okay. Now for masculine, but again, when we're working through that space of intimacy, I have to stress this. The problem with intimacy is the asking, right? Intimacy desires, but is always afraid to ask. While for masculine and feminine in separation, this is energy that's looking towards one another and saying in separation, you know, it seems to me that you are trying to take something that was very difficult and make it as easy as possible for someone. Like, there's a lot of this energy. I see a lot of this energy in separation going, it sounds like I feel like there's a lot of energy that's receiving clarity in articulating what they navigated. And then someone else bringing forward that point of clarity that like allows for like that clearing that creates that sense of closure. Right? Because if that's the energy that says like, you know, it was so difficult, nothing I could do could fix it. This is a lot of that energy saying, well, you know, perhaps that is that space or place of saying like, you know, it's not your responsibility to energetically have to fix everything. Like immediately a lot of this weight is getting lifted. So I see even now a lot of these new energetic connections finding that harmony and recognizing that you can't force an energetic connection like that. Sometimes you just have to find it. Final card in today's spread between our Four of Swords in combination with our Moon card in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Pentacles in its upright. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now. You know, what's interesting about this is I see so much of this energy in separation that said that they let go of their like manifestation goals. They let go of these manifestation goals. But here, I mean, and I see even now, like everybody, like I feel like a lot of this energy in separation being like, this is not the best time. You know what I mean? Like this is a lot of the energy being like, now is not the best time. And then someone being like, dun da da, like a lot of that type of energy that's happening here. Because like a little bit about this right now is, you know, navigating forward in such a way that, like I told you, like sometimes when you release the manifestation goal, it's like when it shows up, because, you know, that sense of not trying to force something or just coming into that flow, a lot of energy right now in separation is just coming into that space of feeling they're saying feeling very energetically at peace with what it is that who they are and what it is that they seek in an energetic counterpart. And when you're in that space of feeling unafraid to be your authentic self, you make it so much easier for another to see you, right? So a lot of this energy right now, I can see them being like, I don't care anymore. But like in the minute them going, I don't care anymore, they suddenly like, you know, become their most authentic version of self. And someone's like, oh, there you are. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, a lot of this energy coming into divine union, this is the energetic equivalent that we're seeing right now of recognizing what that work is, identifying those energetic hardships. It doesn't, you know, it feels a lot of this, it feels messy. It feels, you know, it feels hard. It feels like, you know, facing things that one might not have been able to see before within the self, or seeing past connections in a way that you haven't before. But this is a lot of that energy that because of the constancy that you're providing one another in the context of saying, you know, we're still doing this. Like we're still invested in this. This is the energy that again is finding that place of discovery because of the prioritization of the energetic partnership. Now, for masculine and feminine energy that is deep within divine union, just make sure that you're prioritizing rest right now. Make sure that you're in that space of really appreciating that all you can do is everything that you can do, and that is always enough. And remember how valuable that energetic contribution is. And again, that intrinsic space is not one that requires you to overextend oneself. It requires you to prioritize the self in such a way that you're able to maintain a point of energetic consistency throughout. bottom of the deck on this reading right now, I'm not surprised. We've got here our Five of Pentacles in its upright. So, it's the confrontation point of the abandonment wound. Like the abandonment wound popping up here again and again and again to a certain extent. But I need to stress this. A lot of energy right now is working through healing one's abandonment wounds. That's a messy process, because often you'll feel very energetically triggered in the process of trying to heal something, right? So I'm seeing even now that for so much of that energy facilitating and working through that, that sense, or I need to point this out. If you experience something that used to devastate you, that now is just like, you know what I mean? Like creating that balance point. Like if you're going through that process, it's, it's the articulation point of the fact that healing is perpetual, right? And so for so much of this energy here, this is having a different impact. Now for the energy right now in separation, I'm going to talk specifically about the fact that for the energy in separation, we talked about the volatility of an energetic connection, right? This is why I see that so much of this energy in separation may have reached a closure point, because that sense, if this is energy that came to a point of separation, not in the sense of wanting to change someone, right? Because it's cruel to move away from someone to the effect of trying to change them. But if this is energy that feels like they did everything they could do, wherein they felt that staying was not energetically helpful, if that's that modality where only in someone's departure does someone arrive into something and offer it, this is the energy saying that doesn't create the sense of emotional stability. It feels more like, again, the gift that feels like someone coming into a state of energetic surrender. You know what I mean? Like that's that differentiation point, right? So I see even now like a lot of that energy and separation articulating on the difference in a gift, something that should have felt like a gift coming forward as like, like the palm that like slowly releases something and gives something to another, right? When we don't move joyfully towards the same manifestation goal, it often feels less like an act of joy, more like an emotion of surrender. So this is the energy that says, I don't want to be able to come into a partnership in such a way that someone doesn't feel the same joy that I feel within it, right? While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is a lot of energy that's working fastidiously on that, and they're triggering each other in the process. They're, like they're just, you're like, like a lot of these triggers that are happening, and this is the energy that like feeling that sense of like what they want to do, and then being like, like working through that is how they're healing that point of intimacy, because they're not reacting to what the emotions tell them to do, the abandonment wound. They're being introspective. They're being introspective upon it. Right? They're softening that energetic blow, coming into the space of compassion to prioritize the energetic connection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, this is a lot of that energy that's, constantly working to restore, but always feeling like there's more to do. So remember, I'm going to say it again, your rest is part and parcel to that path work. It's not separate from it. It is a part of it. So make sure that you're also prioritizing it. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and receiving it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, ever, ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move into personal readings for today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who attended our lovers class last week. It was such a joy to be able to share that card with you. If you are a subscriber to my Substack and you missed that class, the class is now available for your viewing pleasure. All you need to do is head over to my Substack. It is available for paid subscribers as well as the course materials. If you missed the class and would like to become a part of our class program, now is the perfect time to join, because when you join, not only do you have access to your enrollment is your ticket to our next class, which will be held on Wednesday, November 13th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. But you will also have access to the full repository of the previous classes. So you've got about 7 hours worth of material there to catch up on. Now, it's not required to catch up to be able to follow us on the journey. I will give a recap on where we've been so far in each class, but it's a nice time to join because you've got a full month ahead of you to catch up on those classes at your convenience. Also, you'll have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey, and I'll give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes and your personal study to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you're already joining us there, and I look forward to potentially seeing you at our next class. Also, if you are a subscriber here to my TikTok, if you head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel, that is one of the perks for being a subscriber here, you will also find a coupon code to give you an additional discount on those Substack classes as an additional thank you to you here for being a subscriber to my TikTok. Even if you don't become a subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to keep up to date with any new opportunities. I post my events there, which will let you know about my social schedule as well as my in-person event schedule. I also post there updates on my giveaways. Speaking about giveaways, we are now in the process of having our October giveaway. If you would like to win a personal private tarot reading with me, simply head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway. But if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, not only will I be gifting a free reading to the person that wins, but also to whoever referred them. So I want to thank you so much if you've already entered, and I wish you the best of luck of winning this month. Not this year, this month. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. Those are specifically for anyone who would like a more personalized experience in learning from me. They can be focused, and they are focused on whatever area of personal development or spiritual study that you are most invested in learning about. They are customized per student, and I take a very limited number of students for that reason. Those can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly, again as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your own personal journey. I also want to let you know that we are currently, applications are now open for moderators. If you're interested in becoming a moderator for me here, I do offer a robust gift back program in relationality to tarot readings. Also, you get to join our moderator community. I'm so deeply deeply appreciative of my moderators. They're absolutely the best. And I want to just thank you so much. If you're interested in applying, head over to my Substack. There is a link at the top of the navigation bar that you can apply towards, or you can email me directly at gracestrega@gmail.com. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.